Hey guys, it's Larry. Welcome to Stewarding the Wealth Transfer. Well, today we're going to do kind of a double thing. We're going to do a January update and we're going to talk about brainwashing. And you might be going, well, what in the world do you have to say about brainwashing? What do you know about that? Well, let's talk about brainwashing. I really got my eyes opened up about government lying because I live in Washington State. We're a very eco-friendly state and we are very progressive, and I hate that about us, honestly. I wish we were truly scientific, but I'm kind of getting ahead. And so you probably know that I went through bankruptcy. So when I was going through bankruptcy, which the bankruptcy happened in 2012, but I was severely affected in 2009. I'm sitting there at my office, a really hot July day, perfect day, clear, breezy, and I'm pumping propane because I have a storage facility. And at that point, we hadn't been able to enlarge it, so I couldn't really afford employees because my credit was so damaged. It took me 10 years what I should have been able to do in a year. But anyway, I hadn't been able to expand it very much yet. So I'm stuck there working away. A guy comes over and I go, man, what a beautiful day, as I'm sitting here filling his 2 propane bottles for his barbecue. He goes, oh, it's a stressful day. He goes, it's so stressful doing my job. I go, what's your job? He goes, well, I run the flow of water through Bonneville and all the other dams. I go, well, how many dams? And I believe he said there was 9. There could be only 8. And I go, well, why is that a stressful job? And he was talkative, but he was just, like burned out. But, when I expressed interest, he was happy to explain. He goes, well, Columbia River's enormous. When you dump a cubic mile of water out of the top dam, you just can't hold that behind the next dam. You've got the regular minimum water flow, and then you dump a cubic mile of water out, you got to keep it going. I go, well, why is that complicated? Well, he goes, all those windmills they're putting up there, and this is 12 years ago. And I go, yeah, they're building hundreds. Now they've got thousands of windmills in the kind of the Columbia River Gorge and on the hotter part of Washington. I don't know if you know it, but half of Washington along the ocean is really moist, lots of rain, all that. You go halfway across the state towards Idaho and it gets really dry. They may only get 11 or 12 inches of rain a year. Where I live, we get 40 inches of rain a year. So he goes, it's just super stressful because we got all those windmills and all the wind starts blowing. He goes, because when all that wind starts every afternoon in the summer, I've got to start spilling water over the dams. I go, wait, you're telling me that the government said to build all these windmills, and they're enormous. They're a football field high. He goes, yeah, we've got hundreds of them, and they actually do generate a lot of electricity when the wind blows. And so I have to start spilling water out of the dams. And I go, wait, you got my attention now. You're saying that all those windmills in the gorge, you have the electrical capacity in the river, yet the government who owns those dams has directed us to spend literally billions of dollars on these windmills, and you have to take capacity out of the dams. He goes, yeah, if you dump a cubic square mile of water out of the top dam, you have to dump it. Now, I believe he told me it's 27 hours from the time it goes through the top dam, it goes through the other. So the windmills only work a few hours a day. He's going, they're producing peak amount of power on July afternoons, midday, 4 or 5 o'clock. And so we have to dump a ton of water out of the dams through the spillway. I said, you're dumping the same amount of water through the dams, but you're not dumping it through the spill. You dump it through the spillways instead of through the generators. He goes, yeah, otherwise we have too much power and we don't have the capacity to deal with it. And I'm going, that is amazing. And other things I learned are that when those windmills get too hot in the summer, they have to be air conditioned, and they also tend to get too cold in the winter, and so they have to be heated. All this capacity that they just waste, and that's the kind of stupidity that we have in the government. And so what I want to talk about is, why do we believe these lies? And what about when there's things, and you might be going, well, Larry, that's just one thing. I didn't know about that, about the windmill. I'll have to find that out. You know, it gets really uncomfortable when you're told things and you believe things that are actually a lie, when you find out later, man, I shouldn't have believed it. And you're going, well, Larry, what other lies? And I talked about Candace Owens. Now, this is really going to get crazy, and it's going to really make you mad, but I don't always prefer the methodology of Candace Owens, but I believe her. I don't think she lies about anything. I don't always agree with her, but I don't think she lies. I don't think she's bought. I think she tells the truth, and I think she's extremely intellectual. We're not synonymous. We don't believe everything the same. Do you know that she totally believes that Macron, who's the current leader of France, is married to a man? And you might be going, what? Yeah, I mean, Candace Owens has become legendary because she has called out Macron, and she's kind of proven to herself anyway, and I believe it too, that Macron is married to a man. And you might be going, well, that's so crazy, Larry. Well, the thing is, why do we believe stuff that's a lie? Why don't we confront it and talk about it? Well, because it's really uncomfortable, Larry. It's just easier to believe the lie, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I just don't like thinking about it. Why don't you like thinking about it? If I'm believing a lie, I want to deal with it. And I'm telling you that I think what God is doing, and you know, here you are bringing God into the subject, Larry. It's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. And there's things that we believe that are lies, and they're not true. And so I think we need to confront them. Well, what's another one, Larry? I can take it. Okay, I don't know about Macron. I'm going to look at that, and you know, I'll look at something else. Well, let's maybe take a little easier one than one that's a little bit harder. And I think that there are receipts on these. On 9/11, how many buildings fell? Well, that's so easy, Larry. I mean, there was 2 planes, right? And there was 2 buildings, and yeah, well, that's not the way it went. Oh, Larry, are you one of those Yeah, I probably am a conspiracy theorist. I mean, notice I've got my hat on here. It says Trump 2020, and that's not an accident. We're going to get there. That's how come we're talking about this, because we have a hard time believing what is true. And so I just want to be able to talk to you as an audience the way that I really believe it. And so I'm going to go backwards so we can go forwards, because I think what is going to happen with 2020 is so hard to believe. I want to see if you can believe these other things. But, you know, there was the Twin Towers that did fall. I'm just going to ask the obvious question, was that an inside job or not? And I think we're going to find out. You know, I really think we're going to find out. And Trump was shocked that it went down with an airplane, because he's built skyscrapers there, and he knows the level of, he's an expert on jets, and he's an expert on buildings. And I don't think buildings, when they get hit by an airplane, they fall flat down. But if you thought that the answer of 2 buildings that fell on 9/11, you're totally wrong, and it's totally empirically provable, because you forgot about Building 7, and you're going, yeah, World Trade Center Building 7, yeah. There's even YouTube tapes of Building 7 falling down, but there's 3 buildings that fell down. It fell down like a pancake, just like the other 2, except there was not 3 airplanes. I think it was an inside job. You might be going, well, Larry, you're really crazy. You're talking about stuff like that. And I'm not saying what isn't documentable. You can document that Candace Owens believes that Macron is married to a man. That's a documentable thing, YouTube and other places. You can document that Building 7 in the World Trade Center fell down. You can make your conclusions that are probably different than what you were told Because our government creates problems and they have the solution, and it's called a Hegelian dialectic. And it's when they make the problem and there's only one, there's a fork in the road. You either go one way, which doesn't make sense, or you go their direction because they know what the answers are. And I believe that green energy is a solution that they have, because I think there's other energies. And I think that even relates to Kim Clement. And so that's where I'm headed. So I got a couple other examples where we believe lies. You probably, like me, have thought that over the last 4 years, anybody who wants to can get in this country. But I ended up creating a really awkward situation when I was in the Philippines, because I was talking to some leaders, and they're quite a prosperous church. It was an amazing church. And I was part of an apostolic team that was over there, and I got to speak about business a few times and pray for people. And I was talking to some of the leaders and their families, and I said, have you got to go to America? And this lady said, no, I really have tried, but I haven't been able to get the visa, so I haven't got to go. And I kind of was joking around and said, well, maybe you should have been nice to your brother. Maybe you're mean to your brother. And the whole table stopped and looked at me, and I realized suddenly that was really, like, you don't give people in the Philippines a bad time when they don't get to go to America, because they were so let down and so sad. And you probably, like me, believe that anybody who has wanted to get in America can just get in America. But at that moment, I realized that it's very intentional. And she said, oh, no, Larry, you don't understand. It is extremely difficult for the Filipino people to get to go to America. Hardly anybody gets to go. Hardly anybody gets to go, Larry. And I thought, oh, my word, look at how many migrants we have jammed in our country. And here we have a whole country of 120 million Filipinos who love our country. They speak English. They're super hardworking. They'd be an amazing contribution. They love America. We've helped them, and they just hold us in high esteem, and they would be perfect immigrants. But the leaders of our country are not looking for perfect immigrants. The globalist leaders of the world are looking to ruin nations and tear nations apart. And they've brought people in that are horrible and not good. And it's really great that we're getting some of the horrible actors out. I know it's hard, and maybe I'm not wise, but I think it's so crazy that we believe lies, and we sit there and we have been trained to just not use our brains, and we need to be people who speak up. And I absolutely loved President Trump, the way that he was invited by all those leaders of LA, and they're saying all these things, and President Trump just keeps telling the truth. And if everybody in the church would tell the truth, we'd have a far different society. But we have been bent over, and we've been harassed, and we no longer speak the truth, and we need to do it in love, but we need to speak the truth. I think I'm telling the truth. You may not think it's love. I think if you're believing a lie, I don't think we need to expose every lie all the time, but we need to realize we don't even know what is true. And so where I'm going with what I believe Kim Clement prophesied, it's going to be so hard for you to believe. I needed to kind of shake you up a little bit. Larry, why are you talking about all these things about lies and the truth? And why do you have this hat on? And why would somebody even wear that? Isn't that embarrassing? I mean, it's 2025, and in 2024 we voted for Trump, and he lost 2020. Well, I don't think he did. And I think he knows that he didn't lose it. And you're probably beginning to believe that he won. You probably think that he didn't have any option, but I'm going to tell a story, or I'm going to give you a prophecy that may lead to a different conclusion, that maybe what we're going through we just didn't understand, and maybe with hindsight we can look at it and maybe we should have known this was coming. But this is related to what I think is going to happen in coming weeks and maybe less than months, maybe coming days. All the people I follow who are professionals and experts, you know, it's not sustainable to have $100 trillion of debt for the country and to not deal with it. When Kim Clement prophesies that Trump is going to deal with it, it was initially hard for me to believe, but now I've come to the conclusion that that's the way that it is. So he's talking about the giant of debt. The giants that have come, the brothers of Goliath, because there's more than one. There's at least 3 giants, because I don't know if you knew that Goliath in the Bible had brothers, and the brothers of Goliath standing in glee watching America. We will cripple you. You will lose your credit. But God said, watch. And I said 20,000. I'm going to tell you that Kim Clement, I think it's 5 times in houseofdestiny.org, refers to the number 20,000 written out with numerals. And it always refers to the dinar because it's referring to the Dow falling, and every time there's a connotation of the dinar is not always mentioned every time 20,000 is, like this time, but that's the connotation. God said, watch. I said 20,000. So, America, we're going to cripple you. You're going to lose your credit. God said, watch. I said 20,000. Look not to Wall Street, however. Observe. They shall say, what is your plan for this giant? And this is talking about Trump. He will take a simple stone. Remember that name. And he will hold it up, and they will laugh at him. But the plan is so brilliant, says the Lord, it could have only been given by me. And so I'm going to kind of give you my guess of what this is. This is not a prophecy. This is my understanding of this prophecy. This is a Kim Clement prophecy. Here's how I think that people have understood it, and here's how the way I would say that you should understand it. You know what's interesting is I love to watch Elijah streams, and they've lately had a series over the last year and a half, 2 years, where they've had many people on Elijah streams outside of normal traditional prophets. They've had people who are in the Patriot community. And so anyway, one time Roger Stone was on there, and many people, including Roger Stone, believe that this prophecy about Kim Clement is about him, and I don't think it is. And the word is his last name, and he will take, this is Trump, and he will take a simple stone. Trump is going to take a simple stone. Remember the name, so it's the name stone, and he's going to hold it up, and they'll laugh at him. When is Trump going to do this? During a time that America's credit is taken away. About the similar time America has an enormous financial obstacle, Trump is going to raise up a stone. And I don't know if you know what Peter's name was in Greek, but the New Testament was written in Greek, and in Greek, when Peter is called out and Jesus said, on this rock, I'm going to build my church. Well, he said, on this Peter, I'm going to build my church. On this Petros is the way I remember the Greek word. And I'm not a Greek scholar, but you can look this up and you're going to see that it's true. And the word Petros is the name that Peter has. His name, usually they were named after things, and he was named after the rock. Jesus said, on this rock, I'm going to build my church. I think it's on this confession of faith. But Peter is the word for stone or rock in Greek. And I think that it's not Roger Stone. I think it's Tina Peters that Trump is going to hold up. And he's going to look at her. And you might be going, well, who's Tina Peters? And why is Trump going to hold up her name? And she's the one that took an image of what was going on in her. I'm going to use this phrase so I don't get, that there's a voting system that kind of is like dumb onion. I'm going to call it that. Dumb onion. And And Tina Peters was concerned because this dumb onion company was coming to her little county where she was the county clerk overseeing elections back before 2020. And the dumb onion company was coming in to do something that wasn't, it was like after the election. And so the election had happened, but maybe it was the preliminaries. I can't remember when it was, but she knew that they were going to do some updates, and it wasn't scheduled. It was kind of like this secret thing, and she got really concerned about it. She wanted to know if they were making any changes, and so she reached out to some high-level people that were conservatives, and she got an elite high-level person that knew how to take essentially a photograph, not a photograph, it's a digital record of every bit inside the computer. And so she got a flash picture of what they did, and then she had to have this secretive person, high-level person, come back in and take a picture afterwards, and they were able to give this to high-level people. Very few people had the technology to do so, and they were able to see that the dumb onion company that controls the vast majority of the election software across the country, how much the election information changed. And so she was preserving the vote and the ballots, and she was absolutely following what she's told to do. And yet the state of Colorado, one of the states that wanted to take Trump off of the ballot, came down on her and just hammered her. And so I think that what you're going to see, and she's in jail right now, and she got moved from low-level jail to high-level, pretty high-level security jail, and she's a 70-year-old grandma, and she's just a sweet lady. She's a fireball, but she doesn't deserve this. This woman has been through horrible things, and I think that it's what's going to begin to unwind the 2020 election. And you might be going, well, why is that such a big deal? Because if somebody stole something and it was proven that they stole it, do they get to keep what they were stolen when it comes out on the other side? Well, no, you usually don't if it can be, given back if they haven't sold it already. And I think that that's, kind of what's going to happen. I think that you're going to see, you go, well, why do you think that, Larry? Well, I think that's how come I had the vision, the open vision of Trump winning in 2020. And there's been all kinds of things that have happened that I've always been really interested. So this is what I believe. And you may not believe it, and it's totally fine to me if you don't believe it. But I just think it's important to talk about things that are hard to believe, because if we can't talk about things that are hard to believe, sometimes we don't know what to believe. But you're going to have to, I think, deal with things that are very difficult to believe, because with what I just said, with what Kim Clement said, look at the end of that. And they will laugh at him, but the plan is so brilliant, says the Lord, it could have only been given by me. So what Kim Clement prophesies is that there's a plan in place that God is going to use Donald Trump to deal with debt, and he's going to deal with this election. And it looks like he's going to deal with the dinar, because the dinar is always affiliated with 20,000. And so you might be going, Larry, that's such a crazy thing. Well, I'm not trying to tell you the easiest thing. It's not the simplest thing. But wait, Larry, if what you're insinuating is true, you're insinuating that Donald Trump, the plan was for Donald Trump to have won the vote in 2020, but to actually allow the election to be stolen. Yeah, that's where this is going. I didn't want to believe that. I just did not want to believe that. It's been a very difficult time. It's hard. It's still hard. This is hard right now because this thing hasn't unwound yet. I think that we're going to see Trump confront the 2020 election via Tina Peters, who is still in jail. And I think that it's going to escalate, and we're going to see a level of lies that are just shredded. And some of you are going, well, yeah, I think that Trump's doing a good job. I think he's dealing with this. I don't know if I believe he's going to deal with 2020, but I think he's doing stuff. Don't you think so, Larry? Don't you think he's doing a lot? Yeah, let me tell you another thing that I think, and this is hard for me to explain because, I don't fully know it, but this is what I believe. And so I think this is very encouraging because, I'm kind of waiting for people to get arrested and stuff. But, the former head, I think he was the former head of the CIA, his name was Brennan, but there's Clapper, there's these 50 or 51 intelligence agency people back early in 2020. They just wanted to keep Trump from being an effective president. They couldn't believe he got elected because their plan was Hillary, and they couldn't believe it. And so they all signed this thing because Trump was sniffing around about the Hunter Biden laptop, which is now proven to have been true. And these 51 people said, oh, no, we're high-level intelligence agency. We're the most elite, knowledgeable insiders in the country, and to a T. Every one of us know that Biden's laptop, that's fake. That's like Russian disinformation. But we think through Flynn and different things that Trump's doing that he's actually colluding with Russia. And so that was where Russia came in. Well, one of the executive orders that Trump signed, and it talks about if people conspire with foreign governments to steal an election, all your assets can be taken, and even the people who help you can have their assets taken because banks can't lend with you. You can't sell your property. It can all be just acquired by the United States and forfeited. I believe that those 51 people understand it very well, what this means. They are accused of conspiring with foreign countries that have tried to steal a vote. They've created gaps of election integrity in our country. And those countries, I believe, are going to be shown to be China and Venezuela, where Dumb Onion originated under Chavez. Those countries and others, some of Canadian leadership, I think some Italian leadership. This is all Patriot Channel stuff, but just kind of go with me. If they did conspire to steal an election, that is an act of war. I'm telling you that those people, those 50 leaders that just got their security briefings eliminated, they're probably things are happening to them that you wouldn't believe right now. But if they haven't been arrested yet, because we haven't heard that they have been, they realize exactly what's happening. And other than facing certain death yourself, which I think if the justice of God is carried out, they probably will, because I think it's treasonous what they did. But this doesn't prove treason if you're accused and proven of aiding somebody in stealing an election. But if you did assist a foreign country in stealing an election, your assets are going to get conscripted, and you're not going to be able to sell your house. And could you imagine? I can imagine at my age, I want to pass something on to my kids, and I want my wife to be well taken care of. And I think that I don't know that they were all men that signed it, but those men are going to see their assets seized, I believe, and I think that they know that. And I don't think that there's much that they can do about it. And I think that's why, they've been so wound up about it. And so that's, kind of what I think. I want to talk about an encouraging thing. I talked in The Rise of Kingdom Billionaires. I took a number of the prophecies, not all of them, because they're so extensive, it's just too much. But Kim Clement, I probably took a dozen of them, or maybe 15 prophecies that I'm really excited about, that Kim Clement talked about the end time revival and how the church is going to change. And he talked about how contagious, and it's going to be really Jesus culture is going to be revived, and Jesus is going to be revered. And you might be going, well, that just seems really, impossible. What would that look like? Well, I'm going to give you an example of what I think it would look like. I think, we had that evangelistic outpouring at the Asbury Seminary. Well, now there's another kind of a God thing. It's called Church, I'm pretty sure it's Church 2819. And this is a pastor, I think he's out of Atlanta. He speaks on holiness. He is such a powerful speaker. And I'm telling you, the anointing on this guy is off the charts. It's just so amazing, and I think it's so refreshing, and I think it's what it's going to look like when the Spirit of God is begin to be poured out. And I'm telling you, the culture around him is just rebelling because the church has grown by the thousands, and there's so many people, it just jams up the area. And I would encourage you to begin to look at Church 2819, and that pastor, I think he's a man of God, and I think it's the Holy Spirit is pouring out His Spirit, and I think as the revival begins that I think is coming, I think we're going to see the whole church change, and I think it's going to be shocking, what comes. Those are just my thoughts. I appreciate you listening to me. I hope that this worked, even though it's kind of an odd topic, but I don't want to not realize that we need to know what we know, and we need to know what we don't know. So, hey, have a great one. Thanks for watching. Bye.